Okay, I'm trying to figure out what's the most important thing to say in this video, because I've already like tried to film it a couple times and I just go on this huge tangent about my history, and it just doesn't get to the point. Okay, I know I said I wouldn't make any more videos until I've got this merch thing sorted, but I was just watching Xena. I know it's taken me forever, but at least I'm finally back into watching it and trying to watch an episode every night because I don't know how to binge. But I'm up to that. I just finished season 3, and that's where we're going through some Hope shenanigans. Yes, my dog was named after the evil character in Xena. It's not named after, you know, not named for like my mental health hope. Kind of, oh, hope that I will get out of this. And he's not named for being a rescue dog either. Those are the socially acceptable excuses that I could tell people, but really he was named after this evil character in Xena who's basically like half demon and gives birth to a creature called the Destroyer, and I thought that was pretty clever. Pretty clever, and I didn't know he was going to be my soul dog, but it kind of makes sense. Like the best name I ever came up with for a dog, and he turned out to be my soul dog. Well, first of all, there are going to be spoilers. I already guess I said a few, but I don't know, like Xena's a show from the 90s. So like, is it really spoiled at this point? But then the younger kids, doesn't occur to the younger kids to watch some of these classic shows. And yes, it's a classic. If you were a younger kid and you haven't watched Xena, I would recommend it because they don't make shows like this anymore. Yeah, okay, the 3D graphics when they try and do CGI, it's not great. But you get the idea of what they were trying to do. It was way ahead of, like, you know, they were pioneering this stuff on a TV budget, so cut them some slack. The practical effects and the fight scenes are amazing. It's a little bit, like, over the top, but it's just better than a lot of the stuff that I've seen more recently, keeping in mind that I don't watch recent TV shows because I'm still stuck watching Xena because I'm so slow at watching things these days. I can't do the binge watching thing. Anyway, so I think you should watch Xena. It's a bit like, it's better than old Doctor Who, but old Doctor Who was also fun because every now and then you see like the microphone dip in the screen and, you know, this is like old Doctor Who. And I was too young at the time, but I've since watched some reruns of it and it was good fun. And then, you know, with modern Doctor Who, I liked the first season. I did not like David Tennant because he's too human-centric. I liked the misanthropist Doctor, and then it sort of went steadily downhill from there, and I haven't watched it in a long time. Oh, that's my phone telling me to go to bed, which I really should have done instead of wasting the past half an hour failing to film this. Anyway, so spoilers and stuff. Watch Xena. It's a good show. I don't give a shit about Hercules. Xena's good because she's a darker character. She's a bit of a psycho, and it's, well, I guess why I'm making this video is because I'm realizing, like, what an impact it had on me. Because, like, I would have watched a lot of it in the 90s, and then watching reruns, I don't know until when. But yeah, so obviously I called my dog Hope. Now, my first dog I called Allie, but that was back, like, early high school when, you know, I was in the process of puberty, but, you know, I don't think my brain had fully developed into the mental illness that I ended up having. That took a few more years. So, you know, I gave her a nice normal name. But by the time I got up to Hope, you know, that's when I was struggling a lot more with this stuff. I didn't have the structure of high school anymore, and I didn't have my RPG anymore. What got me through high school was being on the internet, finding, you know, Animorphs. They listed a website, and I went on the website, and there was a message board where people were pretending to be characters, which, you know, was just, and, you know, they were making up their own characters, and so I had a few, and I also got pretty unhinged there, because you could write anything, and you didn't even have to sign in, you could just, you know, put any name, and so it was kind of fun mucking around there. But eventually they switched boards, and then it became less about Animorphs, and that's where I came up with the name Destroyer popped into my head. But anyway, I don't want to go too much into it, because that's where I keep losing the thread. It basically, you know, over all the different forms it took because, like, it sort of stopped and started and we had to move boards a couple times, but we ended up with like a core group and we were doing collaborative story writing essentially, except we each had our own characters. So it's a bit different to like your standard RPG or Dungeons and Dragons, whatever. No dice, no dungeon master. It's like we have our own characters that we're responsible for. We would do like AOL Instant Messenger or MSN Messenger on the side to like plan stories out, but we still mostly write our own characters. And so my characters, or my main character, is where I put in all that unhinged part of me. So I was able to go to school during the day and be like that polite nerd that people thought was religious. And then at night, log in. I think the Americans must have been logging in the morning. It was like 3 Americans at the height of it, and me. I was the only Aussie. And then we'd write these like violent stories, and that's where I had that outlet. And that helped me through high school. The times in high school where I think I struggled the most are when the board was not active for whatever reason. I did much better when it was active. But at the end of high school, I think we were all roughly the same age, and so, people were going their separate ways. It's interesting, like, I have seen what happened to everyone, and it's kind of interesting where everyone ended up, because we all went in such different directions. But yeah, once school ended, and then I lost that outlet, and I lost the structure of high school and university. See, I'm going back into this loop of, anyway, university didn't work out for me. And then increasingly having to deal with that dark part of me, the dark side of me, the destroyer part. Because this channel is DestroyerMariko. I've already said that in this, because I tried filming this too many times. Not DestroyerMariko, DestroyerMariko. I don't think I've said it this time, but if I'm being repetitive, I'm sorry. I had to deal with that more, and without an outlet, I did try writing stories, just for whatever reason, it wasn't working out. I guess because I tried to create other characters, and it's just like, no, my brain fixated on this character, and, I'm told it's dissociation, and it's another part of me. To me, it was a character for such a long time, though. I don't know what happened. Anyway, I had to deal with that more and more. By the time we got Hope, I'd been on YouTube for a bit, and sometimes been on YouTube, I think, as that character. Like, I was sort of switching to do some DID terminology. Not switching on camera, I don't think. But just sometimes I'd make a video from that perspective. It's a real shame you can't see that, because I deleted it all. But there is one video that I know of, which was more like a collaboration between the different parts of me. So it's a little bit constructed. But, it's about the closest you'll get to seeing that kind of thing. Anyway, dealing more with that, starting to let it out on YouTube, people on YouTube humoring me at times. And see, this is why I didn't want to go down the DID path, because I worry if it was a delusion, then humoring it would actually make it worse. But if it's more of a dissociation thing, then maybe I do need to deal with it to, like, integrate, which I feel like I've already done to some extent, because now as an outlet, I finally got into metal music, and, I think that was probably the biggest thing that helped. But anyway, more stuff on YouTube, bit more humoring, and then I was dating my ex, and probably the main reason I was with my ex is because he humored that part of me, and that's where things really got into some trickier ground, and I haven't even talked about some of that stuff to my psychologists. Like, we haven't done a huge amount of work on it, but I'm not ready to put that out there. I've only really talked to, like, I don't know, maybe one friend and maybe the other guys I dated. I can't remember. Anyway, so by the time we got Hope, I was still dating my ex, so I still had a lot the more extreme aspects going on in my head, and so that's why he ended up being called Hope, because I'm like, that's a clever way to link it to the Destroyer without making it obvious to the people around me. See how it still hides? Anyway, I got there faster than in my previous takes. Okay. Anyway, so that's first thing. What's the real reason for making this video, though? It's just like there's a lot of stuff watching Hope Saga in particular that I'm like, wait a minute, and it's sort of triggering some memories for me that I had forgotten. The first one is, Alien 4, and Ripley, is that the chick? She's like, so spoilers for Alien 4 if you haven't watched it as well. Most people don't like it. I like it because it has me bait. If you put duality type themes or things where people are struggling with their nature, it's gonna be hard for me to see the bad things. Unless it's like, I don't know. So, like, I've watched, there are some Jekyll and Hyde adaptations that are absolute garbage. So, if it's done well, well enough, in a way that I will like the show and forgive its flaws. Okay, so Alien 4, I like it because they resurrect Ripley, I hope that's her name, but with alien DNA still in her, and so she starts off a little bit violent, and she has like the strength of an alien, and that's some fun shit. But my childhood memory, because this is like, I think in the late 90s as well, and I think I only saw bits of it, but my memory of it, when I watched it, like, I got the Alien box set a couple years ago, I don't even remember. When I watched it, I was like, hang on, it's missing scenes that I'm sure was from this. Like, she's being resurrected. I have a memory of her coming out of this goopy cocoon thing and sort of staggering in a particular way, and that's not at all what happened. I think in Alien 3, she gets covered with a net, maybe, or maybe I'm just confused. But, I don't know, there's something in there, but I have this very distinct memory. And it turns out, actually, my brain merged Alien with Xena, and so when Hope comes out of her cocoon, and she's all goopy, now she's not staggering, but she is goopy, and then my brain has mixed that with, like, images of Ripley staggering, I guess, and also the fact of her being resurrected, and so that's why I thought Alien 4 had a goopy cocoon scene. No, it was actually Hope from Xena. So that's one thing that I was like, oh my god, that's where that memory got fucked up. It's because my brain merged it with Xena. And see, this is why memory is not, it's not accurate. You can't always trust your memories. Things get mixed up in the brain there, and the longer ago a memory is, sometimes the trickier it gets. Anyway, so, there could also be child me misinterpreting some things, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Maybe there's another show mixed in there somewhere as well, but I was like, seeing the cocoon, I was like, holy shit, that's the thing. Okay, but, just now watching this, so, Callisto, she's working with Hope. Callisto, okay, I didn't think that I had a whole lot to relate to Callisto with. But watching this, so in this episode, her history, she starts off like she's incredibly traumatized, and it makes her very violent and wanting revenge. And, some struggles there. Does she die at some point? I think she dies so many times I don't even remember. But eventually she manages to get immortality, and then she manages to get godhood, and then she manages to have Xena's son killed, and, that is her revenge for Xena, because Xena is the cause of Callisto seeing her family die, because Xena used to be this warlord who would just torch villages. And so Callisto saw her family burn at the hands of Xena. And so she spends her life, wanting to inflict the same pain on Xena, finally kills her kid, sees that Xena's upset, and then just doesn't feel anything. Okay, so first point there, I can relate to that in the sense of, not that I've gone on a murderous rampage, I can relate to it in the sense of, like, when I work hard towards a goal, and I reach that goal, then I don't feel anything. And it's like when you're working towards something, you have something to look forward to. But then when you reach it, and you don't get any real reward for it, and then what? I think that's the sort of emptiness that Callisto feels. And then, so, that happens. And then later on, by the time we get up to these episodes, Sacrifice part 1 and 2, the reason she's working with Hope at this point is because she's found, I was reading about it because I haven't watched Hercules, and there's some crossover episodes. So on Hercules, she kills a god using a dagger with hind's blood. And I don't know what happened, but I think she got sent into some other world. And so at the beginning of Sacrifice, we see her come back from that world. And she's working with Hope because she wants to find... Well, if she can find the dagger, she can kill herself. But I think that's not an option. What she wants is for Hope to kill her, because, I don't know, it's not really well explained. Does Hope know where the dagger is? Or does Hope have some power to be able to kill a god? That's what's, by whatever method, Callisto is tired of living because she's achieved these goals, and then it didn't give her what she wanted. She got power, she got immortality, and she got revenge, and all she feels is emptiness. And so she's looking for a way to end it all and, just oblivion. And I'm just like, holy shit. Because, as someone who's, got depression, schizoid, existential issues, not happy with the world, stuck living in it, I can relate to that. But also, in the RPG, there are only 4 people in the world, including me, so 3 others who will have seen this storyline. And I think one of them had dropped out by then, so maybe it's only 2, but... my character in that RPG, it wasn't just Destroyer all the time. Most of the time, my character was actually one of the good guys. The Destroyer thing came about, I think I've explained before, when we had to move boards, from Animorphs to monster boards. The monster board thing, they had set avatars, and you had to pick one. And the only one I liked was this sort of evil-looking eye, and I hope I didn't explain that in this video already, but I picked... the evil-looking eye, and then I'm like, it's not because I'm evil, it's because, I used to be the Destroyer, and that's where the Destroyer name popped in. Anyway, why was I explaining that? See, that's the problem, is I keep going on these fucking tangents. I can't remember what the fuck I'm up to. No, okay, so most of the time I was actually a good guy, but then every now and then something would happen and I would become the bad guy, which was always fun, and I think it possibly reflected things that were going on for me just in life in general, or, whether it had built up to a point where I just needed the outlet. Probably depended a bit on the story, but anyway. No, part of it also was because, me with my huge ego, especially as, a kid, because, I was jealous of, I guess I probably felt powerless. Let's psychoanalyze me for a bit, but I was probably feeling powerless. And so, you see these characters who have powers, and it's like, heh. And also being female and being told to be ladylike all the time, and the boys getting, well, Dave, mostly my brother, because the other brother is disabled, but, both the boys getting more attention than me, but also, there was one time that Dave was allowed to go up in a tree and chop down some branch, because boys are stronger than girls, and I was like, but I want to do it looks fun, and so I went and chopped some random branch in the garden and just spent, ages, on ground level, I wasn't allowed to climb it, on ground level, and I just hacked away at this branch just to prove that I could do it. So, determination. It's not the only time I've done something funny like that. When I was living with my ex, I didn't like where he put the bookcases, and so one day he was out, and he wouldn't help me move them, so I took all the books out, and then I sort of shuffled the bookcases all around into a better spot, and then put all the books back in roughly the same sequence, and he came home and was like, how the fuck did you do this? Determination! Yeah, basically, don't get between me and something I really want to do. because I'm a psycho. Anyway, no, jealousy of male strength. There's a bit of that. Probably feeds into some of that low-level gender dysphoria that I had as a kid. I'm glad I didn't go any further with it, though. No, I think also having that outlet made me be okay with being a chick, because I managed to write a female-looking character, at least. I don't think there was any thought put into, like, actual gender or sex or whatever. Yeah, no, having that character that was like everything that I needed to just stop worrying about being a chick. Although also getting into goth fashion, and goth fashion tends to be more interesting for females, that helped a lot with that as well. But I'm still not like thrilled with being a chick, but I would make a terrible dude. Anyway, no, a lot of frustration in my life, blah 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 blah. I was talking about Callisto, I was talking about my character in the RPG. Okay, so, yeah, I had this really OP character, but the way, like, you know, you don't want a character to just be OP because, overpowered, because then everything's boring. So the complication that I threw in, like, my character's main weakness was this dark side, and so the other heroes in our story could never really trust my character and never be sure whether it was gonna snap or whether it would just do something shitty just for fun. Bit of like a chaotic character. And then it was also a very tortured character because I was depressed in high school, so I think I threw a lot of that in there as well. And there's, towards the end of the RPG, this is where we brought in some, like, interesting Bible shit, like Revelation. I'd been, you know, we had to read in English, and I didn't always have a book that I wanted to read, and they banned me from reading Japanese stuff because I guess it was an English class, and I was trying to bring Japanese manga in. Anyway, no, so sometimes I would just read the Bible because it was a religious school. They can't tell me not to read that, and I read the Revelation part because that's the fun part of the Bible where all the crazy shit happens. And so that probably influenced some of my writing. But there's this one character, like, you know, there's the 4 beasts of the apocalypse, I think. And one with, like, you know, at least in my version, the human-looking one's covered in eyes. And it does something to my character that, like, just empties it out. And it hasn't turned into its evil version. It's still a good guy, but being emptied out, it sort of like takes away all the purpose of life. And so that makes this overpowered character very dangerous because it'll just look at something, decide it shouldn't exist, and obliterate it. And so I can't remember how that was resolved, like whether one of the other characters got into my character's head and fixed it, or what knocked some sense into it. But yeah. So that sort of emptiness. And I think, I don't know if my character wanted to die or not, but there was a big problem with emptiness. And in this, I know it's taking me forever, but in this episode, that last episode, or the like double episode, Callisto's talking about, like, you know, the emptiness. And Xena doesn't want to kill her because she's like, she wants Callisto to struggle, to suffer. And only kills her at the end because she has such fun watching Gabrielle die, taking out Hope, that she's, you know, cackling and saying that she has a reason to live now, and then Xena's like, well, now you can die. Anyway, no, just the emptiness of the character Callisto. And she's incredibly unstable. It's fun. Xena's unstable, but Callisto's really unstable. And, just that not wanting to exist. There's some parallels there, and I just wonder if some of that, like, death wish and the emptiness, did that influence my writing? Because this would have been, like, in the 90s. I don't know exactly when Xena actually ended, but, maybe, like, 2000. Yeah, so a lot of this writing stuff, like, that particular... I don't know, the writing that started probably 2001, I don't think I had access to enough computers before that. I used to access it at school, and then eventually we got better internet at home and I was allowed more access. And then once I had a computer in my room, my parents have no idea what I was getting up to. And late at night, and then, we had to move while this place was being renovated, and I used to have to run the dial up over a doorway and plug it into the phone socket. And yeah, that's what I was doing when 9/11 happened. Writing violent stories with my American friends until like 2 in the morning. Although, like, at some point, I remember Dad running in going, a plane just hit a building, and then running in again, a plane just hit another building. And then when I finally came out to have a look, like, I just was glued to the TV. And then the next day at school, that's when I realized there was something not quite right about me, because I didn't react in the same way that other people did. But we won't get into that here, because I've mentioned it before, and I don't know, like, did I build this up too much? It feels significant to me, having watched Xena and the Hope Saga and Callisto, and just being like, holy shit, there's some memories there that I just completely forgot about, and perhaps Xena influenced me more than I thought. Like, when I was a kid, I didn't really understand why I liked Xena. But now as an adult, I realize she's a really conflicted character. And, I didn't give a shit about Hercules. Oh, strong man, who gives a shit? Psychopathic woman trying to deal with her own nature. Hello. And it's also like with Buffy, you would think, badass chick in school can beat up vampires, that I would be into that. And like at first I was into that, but then Angel happened. And Angel is a deeply conflicted character because he's a vampire with a soul. And then I just lost interest in Buffy, and I'm like, I'm all in on the Angel story. These characters who are just at war with themselves. I guess because I find it so relatable. Lately, though, like, it's not an issue for me at the moment. I don't know if that's maturity. I don't know if that's, getting my hormones sorted. Less testosterone in my system. Older, more mature, having my outlets online, having my outlets in music, having my outlets in fashion, even though I'm not even dressing up these days. I mean, I wear black stuff, but I don't know why it's not an issue. Although, shit, I'm getting to the end of this vlog, and I mean, before I started filming, I had a sense of this, and now I also have a sense when I stop filming. And I don't feel like I'm being watched. I may dissociate, although it might be okay. It's not as bad as it used to be. But watching fiction that my brain finds relatable can be a trigger. My psychologist also wants to talk about this dissociation stuff this week. But I can't trigger it on purpose. I can't make it a thing on purpose. I don't know why it's less of a thing, but the thing, like, every now and then I think I've grown out of this. I've grown out of this whole bullshit dark side shit. And then it'll just, like, smack me out of nowhere, catch me off guard. So I have to still assume that it's going to be a problem if I'm not careful. But yeah, when I talk about dissociation in terms of my identity, that's the one that feels the strongest and bothers me the most. Like, the ones where I just feel like a different version of me, or, like when I feel like I've just slotted into someone else's life. And even the depersonalization that I'm starting to get now since I'm thinking about it. Those things don't bother me as much as the whole, like, dark side thing. But then I think part of the point of the dark side thing is to make me uncomfortable with it. If I wasn't uncomfortable with it, maybe it wouldn't be a thing. I don't know, it's like my brain demands that I be uncomfortable with it. And it's hard to talk about it. Today I'm doing okay though, so maybe that means it is more likely that I'm gonna go off the rails. Anyway, I feel there's a sense of dissatisfaction in the way I've explained this. I don't know if it's because I haven't explained it well, or if I haven't explained the significance well enough. But there's something that I'm not liking about this vlog. Maybe that's why it's been so hard to film it. But I've made it to half an hour, which means I really need to go the fuck to bed. No, I can't quite place what the problem is. I've got some other videos. Shit. Yeah. I've got to do the merch store thing. That's like the first thing, and then I can move on with my life. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is. There's something that I feel like I haven't gotten off my chest about maybe the Xena thing or something to do with the RPG or Destroyer stuff. I feel like something's missing. Maybe also like, oh, there is the part where Hope is doing the telekinesis stuff, and I'm very partial to telekinesis. Sylar from Heroes, and he's a very conflicted character, especially by the end as well. There's also Mewtwo, who is in the first movie very conflicted. And I think even in the other movie, when he's got Yu-Gi-Oh's voice, there's a bit of trying to turn Mewtwo dark again. I'm so fucking predictable. It's sad how predictable I am. Anyway, yeah, no, the telekinesis stuff. And also the fact that she looks like Gabrielle and is basically the complete opposite. I wonder if that does some of it. But no, they're two separate people, so that's less important. It's the telekinesis that's fun. And, yeah. There's just, like, it's hard to explain the nostalgia and, like, what it all means to me. But yeah, Xena, there's probably more in this show that I relate to than I remember. I am waiting for the Angels and Demons episode, because that one also has a lot of shit in it that I think influenced some of my writing and some of the things that I think about. If anything happens to me, I've said this before, I think, but if anything happens to me, someone has to get my hard drives and find the part where I documented my RPG stuff, because like I knew I would forget about it. So I actually wrote down a whole lot of stuff. It's got all the Destroyer backstory, including like the backstory that I don't think I ever wrote in the RPG itself. This is stuff that I started to write after the RPG ended. There's a whole thing about like Atlantis, and I haven't read it in a long time, but it goes through some of that. And I think it was going to be the basis of my original cult, Destructionism, which is now my Patreon cult, Destructionism. But no, if anything happens to me, please find my hard drives and just like publish all my shit. I don't even care. Just don't let it die. I may not have the courage at the moment to post it all now, but if I'm not around anymore, you need to get this stuff and put it out there. I do not have a will, because I would have to go to a lawyer to do that properly. But here's my like video evidence. Play this to whoever. Unfortunately, most of you don't know. And like, you know, most of you are overseas, so I don't know how you're gonna do it, but you need to get my hard drive and find the part which has the Destroyer Destructionism backstory RPG stuff. I'm gonna go before I lose the plot. I've already lost the plot. No, in that other way. Bye!